The thing that's important about the electric car is their technology that are available now. It's not something that we have to wait till there's an infrastructure in place that can provide an alternative fuel. It's available now. I drove one for 3 years, and it was a fantastic experience.
It takes something like 50 electric cars to produce as much emissions, conventional smog type of emissions, as one gasoline car that's working properly. So it's a tremendous benefit for the environment.
If every state of the union now adopted the same zero-emission mandate that California passed in 1990, we would have so many zero-emission cars on the road that we would actually make a real difference. We would not be dependent on foreign oil.
I honestly felt until just recently that the electric car was kind of a dead issue. I thought that they actually succeeded in killing it. But I think with the combination of the high gas prices, the war in Iraq, all of the implications of global warming and the realities of it were coming to a point where the electric car is becoming viable again.
No, they exist. And the few that do know they exist have been inundated with misinformation about the car. They've been told it takes 8 hours to charge a battery. This is untrue. You can completely charge a battery in 4 hours, and you can get an 85% charge over lunch. Currently, the only way to get an electric car is to either convert your car to electric, which is something that can be done through specialty houses, or there are smaller car companies that are emerging that are building electric cars. Of course, they won't be built in sufficient quantity to bring the prices down to normal cars, but for those who really want an electric car, they're out there.
We can convert any car. As long as it has an engine, we can replace it with electric motor. What we do is we bring the car in, steam clean it, yank the motor, the transmission, gas tank, muffler, exhaust, everything that was related to the gas motor, and we replace it with an electric motor and controller and a set of batteries. The whole conversion takes anywhere from 3 days to a week, depending on the car. It's one of our standard cars, it's 3 days, otherwise it's about a week. And it runs anywhere from 17,000 to 30,000, depending on the car. We offer 3 different kinds of batteries. We have the lead acid, which is sort of the bargain basement battery, and you get maybe 25 or 30 miles per charge. We also have nickel metal hydrides. You get 60 to 100 miles. And then next year we should have lithium ions, which will give you upwards of 200 miles per charge. But those are very expensive. If you were to do a conversion with the nickel metal hydrides, you could expect the batteries to last well over 100,000 miles. So you'd probably wear the car out first. We set these cars up with what's called an AVCON port, which is what the public charging stations have. And so we have people install that in their house so that when they go home they can charge with that. But then, say you're out on a trip, you're at a friend's house or something, there's a switch you can flip in the trunk and then just plug it into a regular 110 outlet.
The other thing people don't realize is that on a national basis, plugging in cars overnight is when utilities don't use as much power. And the utilities estimate that 20 to 30 million cars could be charged overnight without building any more infrastructure. No more power plants necessary.
You know, when you first hear it, you think, oh, well, that's a drag, you have to plug it in home. But once you realize you never, ever have to go to a gas station again, it's actually a very exciting thing that every morning you wake up and you have a full tank of gas, except it's not gas, it's electricity.
Well, one thing I think we can all count on almost absolutely, and that's that oil prices will keep going up. So it's good to have an option. Right now, you can fill your electric car, at least if it was an EV1, for under $1 a gallon in equivalent energy cost. So that's 3 times cheaper than what we're already paying for gasoline.
Well, the nice thing about the electric car is that the electric motor has one moving part. And so there's not much to go wrong. There's some bearings, some brushes, and that's about it. So you don't have to worry about the oil changes or tune-ups or all those normal wear and tear parts because they're just not there. An electric motor in an EV will last a million miles, so you know they're inherently dependable.
There's no reason that every American couldn't simply rebuy the car that they drive right now, but rebuy it as an electric vehicle.
The reason that a lot of the first vehicles were lighter weight is because you go farther. But electric cars don't have to be small. They can be very big if that's what you want.
One thing that gives us hope is the hybrid car. And the reason for that is it could be the stepping stone that makes people comfortable with the idea of driving electric cars.
It's the best alternative out there right now. And the key to that phrase is out there. It used to be the electric car was the best alternative out there. So given what we're offered, the hybrid is the best choice, and it's a good choice.
If we can convince car companies to change this from a non-plug-in hybrid to a plug-in hybrid, then instead of getting 40 miles to the gallon, we could be getting 125 to 150 miles to the gallon. In this kind of car, you would do the first 40 to 50 miles of the day purely on electrics and only switch to gasoline when you're running out of charge.
And when you have a plug-in hybrid, you'll be able to make decisions. For example, if you don't like the price of gas, if $3 a gallon bothers you and the equivalent of 60 cents a gallon for the electricity you like, you will remember to plug it in. On the other hand, if you're like some of us and you forget to plug it in, you'll have the gasoline as the backup.
But you also don't have to depend on an electric company to get your electricity. You can put solar paneling in. There's wind machines. There's all kinds of ways to get electricity. We, in interviewing the film, met with several people who had more than one electric car, used solar paneling, and not only did they make enough power to charge their cars, they had enough electricity left over that they sold it back to the state and made profit on it. So the technology exists.
The optimal car of the future, at least in the short-term scenario, is a flexible fuel plug-in hybrid. So whether it's biodiesel or methanol or ethanol or even hydrogen in an internal combustion engine, combined with the electricity, that makes a car that's truly flexible and can get us off gasoline.
Biodiesel is an alternative fuel. It's an alternative to diesel, petroleum-based diesel fuel. It's made from organic oils, fats and oils. Most people think of it in terms of vegetable oil. It's converted chemically. They take out the glycerin out of the molecule and they replace it with an alcohol. So biodiesel will run in any diesel-powered car. So any vehicle that has a diesel engine in it can run biodiesel. There are some handling and use issues that fleet managers need to be aware of, but essentially there are little, if any, changes that you have to make to your vehicle. Ethanol is an alcohol-based fuel that's a replacement for gasoline. Biodiesel is a biofuel that's a replacement for diesel. So fuel efficiency of biodiesel, there's very similar power and torque and similar fuel efficiency.
You want to look at the carbon equation on any fuel. For example, there's many studies that show corn-based ethanol can be not significantly better for the environment because it takes so much fossil fuel to grow corn. And in Brazil, where they use sugarcane, it's much more efficient to make ethanol. So any alternative energy car is great if it means getting off of oil. Electricity turns out to be a really nice way to do it because it's so efficient and so clean. But flexible fuels like cellulosic ethanol and renewable biodiesel and all these things are terrific, a part of the solution too.
Yeah, we call them neighborhood transport vehicles. This is one of, the electric scooters are one form of them, the electric bikes are another neighborhood transport vehicle, and that's part of what we're working on here with the Sustainable Transport Club, is to get people to understand that there's a different way of handling things where you can use really high efficiency things for doing what you need to do around your neighborhood, your shopping, your errands, commuting to work on short distances and back. And then if you need to have a big car, where you have one big car for the family, and when you need to take those 200-mile trips, you use the bigger vehicle. You can get them for as little as $2,000, brand new. The ones with the better ones right now are actually about $2,500, maybe $3,100 altogether for a full-blown vehicle. The batteries on these are around $300 or so, maybe a little less these days because those prices are coming down. So $300 every 3 years and 1 cent a mile for fuel. You're looking at a pretty economic vehicle to work with.
The future of the electric car is at a crossroads. Again, it depends completely on the will of the consumer, the will of the nation, the will of the corporation, the will of sort of all of us to embrace it now, and embrace the technology of the electric car.
In order for electric cars to come back on the road, 3 things are going to have to happen simultaneously. One, the government is going to have to mandate change and mandate that these cars exist. Car companies are going to have a real corporate vision and look 6 years down the line instead of 6 months. And most importantly, there's going to have to be really strong consumer demand. You should call that hybrid dealer and say, call me when you've turned that into a plug-in and I'll buy it.
The thing that we can do the most right now, the most effectively about the electric car, is just to try and make it known to the car manufacturers, to our politicians, to sort of anybody that will listen, that has any kind of influence, that this is something we want. In spite of the reluctance on their part to give it to us, we still want it.